Now it is gaming disorder. This is another thing which is catching up with lot of children. What based games will do is after that they will ask you to subscribe or pay for that, the next levels and all. That is where you start getting hooked to it. So this boy started understanding, this is where he felt, I can achieve number one place, I want to be recognized by the world. And when he was going from levels, he's using all his cognitive abilities in order to become number one in games. He ran away from the home, he started living somewhere in a shabby place because he wants to show the world that I am number one. They play all night, sleeps in the class, aggressive when interrupted. They most of the time they skip meals because they eat lot of junk food. 12 years old engaged in a pornography. Imagine that kind of a child getting engaged in this watching porn. What will be their mindset and what will be their belief system about sexual and sexuality? Why it is happening? Now it is gaming disorder. This is another thing which is catching up with lot of children because of the globalization. Most of the children engaging themselves in a gaming problem because why we all know, the Xbox or PS, whatever they will be using. But here, what they are doing is a live games they will be playing. So here, online multiplayer or reward based games. So you might have heard about PUBG and all that, where, or not only that, we see a lot of articles where the children are purchasing. See, it all starts with a level one, level two is a free. So what the reward based games will do is after that they will ask you to subscribe or pay for that, the next levels and all. That is where, you start getting hooked to it. And here we had a classic case study where this boy started, getting into this. There are seasons. So there are a lot of series also has come on this particular, not an Indian OTT series. For adults who wants to understand this, some Chinese series is there in OTT platform where you will understand like professional players versus the online global players, where this particular boy, through him I could understand that, oh, this is something, a different world is existing, where this guy wants to beat out the professional players and then he wants to become number one. This boy is a number one till, I mean, he was 21 when he came for this counseling or intensive OP therapy. So this boy started understanding, this is where he felt, I can achieve number one place, I want to be recognized by the world. And when he was going from levels, he's using all his cognitive abilities in order to become number one in games. Eventually he lost, his medical seat because of this particular seasons and all. And where he felt whenever he was winning the game, it is giving him the achievement, people, the comments, what the people are doing, it is rewarding for him. And he just thought, I'm going to do this in this one season and then I will leave it. But he couldn't leave it for 2 years, where he ran away from the home, he started living somewhere in a shabby place because he wants to show the world that I am number one player, I want to beat out the professional players and all that. That's a kind of crazy situation one can get once a person is into this. Not only that, it also changed. There is another case where this boy started becoming aggressive because of the kind of language he's using, because they interact with the players from all over the world. So the kind of, and most of the time, these people are active in the night time because of the global timings and all that. So that is where this boy started feeling that using the cuss words is a in thing. And because to stay awake, this boy also started using the energy drinks. So I associated with this, this high, even this particular junk food and the energy drinks is another problem he acquired. It's not just two cases I have told. Almost every case with the gaming disorder has similar patterns. They play all night, sleeps in the class, aggressive when interrupted. They most of the time they skip meals because they eat lot of junk food. And this most of this almost all the children felt their recognition is when they play game, and the kind of a comments they get, that is more validating for them when compared to the real life world. So this is another challenge where it is very difficult, as a therapist to really work on their belief system, make them understand the reality of life. It's not easy, as I just said, this therapy, the therapy I'm just pointing out here, but it is a very challenging and very, kind of parents have to be very patient. But the thing is, here we are losing a lot of time, and the child is losing academics, and it is really difficult once you lose time and the kind of academics situation you are in, like you are number one in class, suddenly you drop down to number 15, and then coming back to number one is not that easy. It's not like a movie. Within 2 hours you just like everything changes and you come back to number one. It is very, very affecting their esteem levels, self-esteem levels. And then we also see them, they feel that they accept the failure easily, and they feel I have no other go than finding solace in these kind of, because this is where at least I'm getting validation and I have that skill to overcome. So that is a kind of a thing they develop, and it is definitely not easy for us to crack that kind of a belief system. What we can do, prevention precautions, I have put parents clear gaming time rules. If you ask me, better not introduce your child. Don't buy as a birthday gift and all. You never know what you are making your child enter into it. And if you have done that, at least set rules. No devices in bedroom, and encourage sports and peer activities. Most of the time, online is less, offline is more, is what a mantra should be. Teachers, if they identify the child is easily fatigued, he's not engaged in, the activities at the school, don't wait for PTM after 3 months and then report to the parent. Please do it immediately, because lot of gap between the teacher and the parents, the institution and parents, is that's what we notice as a therapist. When the parent comes, oh, we were never told, teacher told, he's not okay since 3 months. What are you doing since 3 months? Why you haven't reported? So that is a kind of, please, parent and teacher, see that, you are in touch with your child's educational institution, keep on checking weekly or monthly, do something like where, just take a feedback, be in a same platform to help your child. Communicate if any concerns are there. Teachers is what that's supposed to do. When it is seen, immediately you address it. Don't wait for good time to report that. What interventions we use here is motivational enhancement therapy. Already the person wants to achieve something, goals are there, but he's deviating from the goals. That is where we are going to reset the goals. We are going to use CBT techniques for behavior control, and there is routine building. So again, a structured routine is what timetable setting, weekly, monthly goals is what we need to set, and then see that a person, reaches that. And family, both the family and also the academic side, the teachers play a role in bringing the child back to this normalcy is what we try to attempt. So family based intervention is what we try and do, set rules, house rules, and then communication patterns we'll work on. And any issues like how you will be family, most of the time they get into the punitive mode, like where you want to punish the child in order to control the behavior. So this is where interventions will help them to be non-judgmental, empathetic way of dealing with the child. Third is a social media addiction. So again, doom scrolling is what I'm using. Most of the elderly people are into this, negative news feeding, believing in that fake news. Nowadays, we are living in that fake news world. So this is excessive scrolling, and it is affecting their mental health in a greater way. They become fearful, they become anxious, they live in constant fear because of whatever the content they are watching. So that is something which is a big challenge now. Comparison and validation seeking is another thing in social media. We see this in young adults and also the adolescent children, where you start comparing with others. Unfortunate thing is most of the girls, start comparing with the celebrities all over the world, and then they try to imitate, they try to post to seek validations, and this is affecting the self-esteem. Not see here we see that, when we talk to these children, they see that it affects their self-esteem. They're unable to accept themselves. The non-acceptance, they completely reject themselves. This is affecting lack of self-love, negative self-image. This becomes them more vulnerable to other vices in the society. I'm not talking about just a context of social media addiction, but they become more vulnerable for the sexual crimes. People will be grooming these kind of people who are present in online platform, because I know a lot of I have seen when we are doing some cases of narcotic control bureau cases where NDPS, they're caught in consumers as drug consumers, and we just explore their life case study, then we understand that they become vulnerable because they're so gullible, they can be easily trapped, groomed, and be used for any kind of crime. It can be human trafficking, sex trafficking, drug trafficking. So these are why, because the vulnerability is because they seek always validation. They show their weaknesses to the whole world, in this platform. See, if you're doing this to the person you encounter, only one person take advantage of you. At least you are seeing that person. But here they put out their whole life, in a social media where anybody, any perpetrator who is watching them can take advantage of. That is the danger they get themselves in. Anxiety, depression is another thing we see because they're not getting what they want in the social media. So here case, this is particularly girl case which I have put, because basically this girl started using 3 4 accounts in order to, and she doesn't put her real pictures, all the filtered, because of the negative self image. You don't accept yourself, you believe everyone does the same way, and whatever she posts, immediately constant checking, because who has replied, who has seen my, how many people have viewed whatever I have posted, how many people liked, why they didn't comment this way. So whole day her life is revolving round about this thing. Every single moment of her life is put it in a social media, and body image issue she has. There is no, standard body images, but whatever she likes, she tries to imitate that particular celebrity. And then once the negative comments come, she gets into that, depression, anxiety mode. And most of the time her life is only on a social media, it's not offline. She's restricted herself to her room, and this is where, we see a lot of youngsters these days relying more on social media than a real world. So they live in virtual reality and they believe whatever they are seeing is right. And another unfortunate thing we need to understand, now AI is ruling. Whatever you scroll, you ask Google something, it only provides related content. So for her, what she is searching about the beauty tips or the celebrity and all, then she only gets that kind of feed wherever she goes in, whether she goes in Facebook or Insta or other social media accounts. What she believed is, okay, this is the way the world is working. She forgot that there is Trump, there is Ukraine, there is Venezuela, there is something else is existing, even our India politics, something is happening. So for her, the world is like, because the AI understands what you're interested in, it's giving only that kind of information. So that is another unfortunate thing where you're trapped into that kind of a confined world, which they are unable to understand. How we can prevent focus on media literacy is what again we can start in educational institutes, or even as a parent, you can say, hey, what is fake news, what is real news, what is existing. So all this, see, even nowadays the news also we are selective. Even whatever you want, previously you have, before OTT you used to have a satellite channels. So this particular time there is a news, and if you switch on, that is the time you will be. Now your news is like in your hands. You want to watch, you will watch, otherwise you don't. So it became so kind of a selective where you disconnect with the real world. And you also have to focus on reality versus online image discussion, encouraging self-worth beyond likes. This is what we will try and do, a prevention focus. And psychological intervention, we are working on this particular girl on self-building, self-esteem building, and cognitive restructuring, where we are working on her beliefs, self beliefs about the self, beliefs about others, and mindfulness practices to reduce the distress tolerance, and then addressing anxiety and depression. These are the common things which we do in our psychological intervention. Fourth is online gambling and fantasy games. These are again upcoming things in a young students, especially in a UG and PG. We are getting many cases. This particular case, see, gambling, we know traditional gambling is, playing cards and, cricket betting and horse riding, horse betting and all, we were aware of. But there are a lot of fantasy sports now. I think IPL betting and all, we are aware of it. There is something called the stock market, the in-game purchases, and these are all the other things which are happening online. Gambling, there are apps, it is in your mobile phone. You need not to go to some, the horse riding arena to put a bet on a horse. You're not going to, you are sitting in your home, and you, with your gadget, you can do. And this is becoming a big problem because it starts with a pleasure. The surge of that dopamine will make you to redo it again and again. And youngsters, especially, the primary reason we have seen is make a huge money. Once you see that putting some investment, I still have a client, I'm still dealing with one of the client. This boy put in some stock market. He didn't study that much, but he invested in something. Oh, I have invested 500 and I have made it 15,000. Now I think within one day, then he put that amount, and then he that kind of gambling he started doing. I took it till 1 lakh, and then one fine day he lost it completely, because the gambling itself is something, is a different zone altogether. But that surge of that dopamine made him to, okay, whatever. The another belief is, oh, I have lost here, so I will gain here only. So you see that casino people go and behave. So forget about you stepping out and going to these places and then put your bets and on and then do gamble. But the unfortunate thing is, now in online, in a gadget only it is possible. That is where it is becoming an alarming problem among the youngsters. So borrowing money, chasing the losses, to cover up losses, you start using credit cards. This particular case has lost within young age, at age of 23, he had incurred losses of 1 crore, only gambling, and the parents are repaying by selling the assets. That is a kind of a problem person can get into. And it is invisible because you don't know unless somebody knocks your door and the loan sharks, he has taken the money and they have come. There is a threat because you have given away all your what do you say, Aadhaar details, address, everything to the loan shark. So they started coming to the doors, and it's the whole family is in threat. So that is where they had to sell the assets to repay the money. But the boy, after repaying, he cooped up with the loan sharks and started blackmailing parents. That is the next phase he's reached into. That is a kind of pathetic. And if you ask me, that boy has in UG first year, he got 9 GPA. So it means he's very intelligent boy, but all that intelligence is utilized in ruining him and his family. That is an unfortunate thing. So what we can do, prevention part, I'm more focusing on prevention than intervention, because intervention, how much ever, it is very, very, very laborious task, I would say. It's not easy. You just sit and make, hey, don't do this, and the child will agree and then don't do it. It is going to be very difficult task. That is the reason we focus more on prevention. That is an attempt today through the webinar also, what we can do to prevent getting many people getting into this problem. Then less percent of people already in the problem, we will be working on it, intervention. But all these are relapse prone. And if you see everything, whatever I talked about, you cannot separate yourself or detach. All these are part of our life, but we have to learn how to moderately use them. So if it is alcohol or drug, you, unless you purchase and use because it is banned, so it is easy for you to detach yourself from that. But here it is not so. So that is the reason these are all, would say, invisible addictions. So in prevention here, we are doing financial literacy, education, early discussion about risk and loss. We do the decision balancing thing, and parental monitoring of transaction. It is very important. Awareness programs and educational institutions about this is mandatory, I would say, because so that you can at least prevent a lot of people. See, before you incur the losses, what is that you're getting into? Because nobody gets into thinking, saying that, oh, I'm going to, become successful here. But you also have to see the other side of the story and then make a decision. That is what we do in a decision balancing sheet. Psychological intervention, we work on the belief system through CBT. There is a relapse prevention training we will do. Financial counseling is like how you have to manage budget, these kind of things. I think this is starting in schools also, financial literacy programs, which is very important because that is one of the important value a child need to understand, so that once it is put it in, during the foundation days, it will be handy in later stages of their life. And support groups like Gambling Anonymous is what we will suggest them. Another very sensitive area is a pornography, compulsive sexual behavior. We might think that, hey, we're not having this kind of problem at all among the student population. Unfortunately, I got a cases where the child is 11 year 12 years old engaged in a pornography. Imagine that kind of a child getting engaged in this, watching porn. What will be their mindset and what will be their belief system about sexual and sexuality? Why it is happening? Because there is an easy access internet. Most of the children are not being watched by the parents. That is a fact we need to understand nowadays. Either we have a babysitters, or the child, if it is a middle school child, can come home until the parents come back from work. He will be on his own, and and when they are on their own and having this internet globally connection, they can get into anything. Parental controls are there, but still how long the parental controls are being checked by the parents is another thing which you need to check into, because this particular case, both the parents were IT professionals, and one of the parent is also a hacker. So this boy was taken care by the grandparents. So every day he appears to be coming back from school, go, and then he says, I'm working. And then he's in the room and he's be like, grandmother is coming and watching. He's keeping the, the laptop facing the grandparents, and then he's watching, and in between he looks at them and smiles at them. They understand, okay, he's doing his, schoolwork and all, but he's engaged himself in watching the pornography, which they could only understand later because of the some issues like lot of secrecy. He's spending more time and he's masturbating, and mother could sense something wrong with the child, but by the time she realized, he's deep into it. When the child has come to the therapy, where I could see that this boy is watching as a group of other students, so they know the various sites, where are the safe way of watching, not being caught, so the one of the boy has got an account from his elder brother's account. He has hacked, and then they started watching. So imagine at 11-year-old, 12-year-old can do all these kind of things, and it was shocking for the parents. And he also knows the browsing history delete, and that is another thing challenge. So the father could retrieve the history and see how many sites he has been watching for how long. And it was a shocking thing, and they couldn't do anything. And fortunately, this child has a good parental support, and they had money to go for the intervention. But the thing is, if you see a lot of news articles where the children are watching these kind of things and engaging themselves in the kind of a sexual crimes on adults. And you see, if you just go today after the session and go back, and sexual crimes committed by the minors, if you see a lot of news articles, that is the underlying reason for them for the sexual crimes is exposure to this kind of content in the internet. So that is something which is alarming, because it's not only making them get addicted to this, but also deviant sexual behaviors, and also the sexual crimes and the cyber crimes. The children start stalking other people, and then morphing the other people's picture, and then because they are not thinking straight because of lot of abnormal or distorted thinking patterns. So this is a big challenge, and it is again an invisible addiction where what can be done from our end. Age appropriate sex education, that is something which we can start. Safe non-judgmental conversation with the child is very important, and focus on values and respect. Again, I'm saying it cannot be done once the child gets into the problem. All this is a preventive and a guidance approach. Psychological intervention, this particular child, we started doing CBT again. I tell you, at age of 12 it is very difficult to deal and reach out to the mind of the child, because the pleasure is more dominant factor compared to what we are trying to do. But at least the shame reduction, healthy coping strategies, family education, more of, I would say in this case, mother had given up her job in order to just take care of the child. So that is a kind of a sacrifice had to made. But unfortunately, all this could have been, once you are vigilant on a daily basis, you are checking, you are interacting, probably you could have noticed. But here parents thought grandparents are looking after. Grandparents doesn't know this era, what all manipulation a child can get into it. So that is a kind of a gap was created. So this is something which is a serious thing, and it can lead to lot of personality change in a child. The child can turn into a criminal, I would say, once they are exposed to this kind of a abnormal content. See, pornography doesn't talk about a safe sex practice. It talks about all abnormal content. So that is where it is very disturbing, because the kind of beliefs they formulate, they become aggressive, they become punitive, they become, kind of beliefs with harming other people. So that is all is a challenges we see when we are trying to intervene with the people with this porn addiction. Role of parents and teachers, open communication, emotional availability for the child, that's very important. Observe behavior, not the just results, and seek help early. Don't stigmatize the problem, because this particular parents also waited for 6 months to control the child on their own, and then because of the stigma they cannot come openly and tell my child is watching porn, because what society will think, what the therapist will think. That stigma can delay the help you give to the child. So please don't get into that mode. Utilize the resources you have. Early intervention is always safe. And why schools must address these behavior addictions? Because it impacts the learning outcomes. In all the addictions we have seen, the learning outcomes are impacted. It affects the mental health of the child, and it links to absenteeism, discipline issues, links with the criminal behaviors. I was talking about these children started, fake news in the social media, fake account. One of the child has used the school account to do this sexual bullying and amongst the other, on a girls students. So why? Because he was hiding under, you use the technology in a wrong way, but by the time they cracked the case, the damage was already done, and they all got into some kind of apps. I think recently it has come into this news article also. There is something called a Discord app, lot of student population use globally. That is where they can play games, they can study groups, everything. It all started as a study group, but more than that, the other things were happening. So these kind of apps, they connect globally, and they don't show their, see, online most of the time they project their behaviors, they don't show their true self. So it is all make believe things you start doing in that. So that is where their IDs and all, unless some cyber professional is there, they cannot. Otherwise, they hide under a different ID, different pictures and all that. So amongst the children, there will be also, perpetrators. So this is what is a world we are living in, so we need to be very, very precautious and alert and be vigilant. CBSE also what they are doing is they have life skills and mental health is a part of curriculum now in every school. School health programs, adolescent education programs. We are doing this, as I said, the Safety School project. We are focusing on mental health, substance use, digital well-being, and physical safety, where we focus on how they can take care of. One is protection and one is sexual aspects also. They will see good touch, bad touch, and POXO acts and all that will be educated as a preventive education programs for the children. So role of teachers and schools: safe space for discussions. You need to initiate, no stigma, life skills education, early identification can help. Refer to professionals if at all, if it is challenging. And key prevention principles, evidence-based prevention is strengthening life skills is very important. And I put in the picture family, school, community. Unless they collaborate with each other, we cannot curb these problems. And it is not independent. Unless we are coming together, then only we can address this issue effectively. Even evidence-based practices focus on a collection of these three agencies are very, very important. Reduce the risk factors, enhance protective factors like discipline, values, and all that. So, community and school involvement collectively is very important. And when to seek professional help: whenever there are red flags, loss of control, functional impairment is there, emotional distress is there, failed self control attempts are there. So, that is the time you reach, because early help prevents long term harm. And today, takeaway message: behavioral addictions are real, they are preventable, and they are treatable. Please, put it in your mind. I said preventable. It means you can help a lot of people getting into this problem. Treatable, it's not curable again. It means once the child or anybody gets into the problem, it is a lifelong problem where they become vulnerable for the relapses. We can only arrest from progression. We can treat them. Okay, so together, adolescents, parents, teachers, professionals, we can protect mental health. And I end with this quote: choices you make today shape your tomorrow. This is for the children. Thank you so much for listening to me.